Welcome to the special weather briefing for January 16th. We are going to be talking about a major winter storm arriving tonight and continuing into Wednesday, as well as freezing rain potential later on in the week. So here are the key points that we want to get across. We're looking at snow increasing late this evening into the overnight hours. That snow is going to become heavy at times on Wednesday and Wednesday night. And we are also looking at areas of blowing and drifting snow across the Palouse and the Camas Prairie. On Thursday, we're going to see a break in the snow in the morning, but then the next round of snow arrives in the afternoon and evening. And then as we go into Friday and Saturday, much of that snow is going to be transitioning to a wintry mix. Now, we want to address that it's not just eastern Washington and North Idaho that are being impacted by the storm. It is going to cause impacts across all of the Northwest. The top graphic here is the forecast snowfall through Thursday, and you can see it's going to be widespread snow affecting much of Montana, Idaho, parts of eastern Oregon. And then it's not just that. As you go down towards the lower Columbia Basin, especially towards the Portland area, there's a significant amount of freezing rain in the forecast, with some places forecast to get greater than a quarter inch of ice. So this is going to be a regional impact storm, not just a local area. Here's a look at the winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories that are in effect across the region. And we have warnings for much of eastern Washington and North Idaho, as well as much of Chelan County, and then winter weather advisories over much of central Washington and then down into the LC Valley and the Camas Prairie. All right, so when will the snow start? We are looking at the snow moving in from the southwest during the evening and overnight hours. We're looking for snow to begin around 9 p.m. for the Wenatchee and Moses Lake area, and then around midnight for the Spokane area, and then during the 1 to 2 a.m. time frame over far northeast Washington and North Idaho. This is going to be a powdery snow at the onset of the event, so this is going to be a very light, fluffy snow compared to the wet snow that we've been getting with most of our events so far this winter. All right, so the next graphic I'm going to show is an animation of the 1 hour snowfall starting at 5 p.m. this evening. So to give an idea of how this event is going to evolve. So as we go through, you'll see for this evening, let me hit the play button here again. There we go. You can see snow moving in this evening in the Wenatchee and Moses Lake area, and then moving into the Spokane area overnight. We do see a bit of a break during the mid to late morning hours tomorrow before it increases again for late tomorrow afternoon. And I'll play this one more time. Again, the time here is on the top right, and you can see the first round moving through overnight into tomorrow morning, a break during the mid to late morning hours, and then snow picking up again tomorrow afternoon. So we're looking at impacts for both the morning and evening commutes. All right, moving on to the next slide here. So here's the forecasted snow amounts with the 2 rounds of snow. So this runs from 11 p.m. this evening through 10 a.m. Wednesday morning. And you can see we're looking at 4 to 6 inches of snow by 10 a.m. tomorrow for the Spokane area down to the Palouse, with lighter amounts across the Columbia Basin. And then those higher amounts also extend into much of North Idaho. For round 2, so this is for the late Wednesday morning into Wednesday evening, we're looking at another 4 to 6 inches for the Spokane area down through the Palouse, with heavy snowfall accumulations for the North Idaho Panhandle, we're looking at the potential for 1 inch per hour snow rates in these areas that will have the highest intensity snowfall for the winter storm. So what does this all add up to? If we look at the storm total snow amount, we're looking for 8 to 12 inches for the Spokane area down to the Palouse, with some areas getting 12 to 18 inches over North Idaho. And we're also looking for areas of blowing and drifting snow Wednesday night in the pink shaded or the pink outlined areas here on the map. And also looking for heavy accumulations impacting the Cascades over Stevens Pass going into Leavenworth, with lighter amounts spilling into the Columbia Basin, but still significant amounts for those areas with 3 to 4 inches. And we're looking at very difficult driving conditions across much of the region, with the highest impacted interstates and highways shown here in the bottom right of that graphic. All right, so here's a map just showing the general threat risk for the snow with this system. You can see a significant risk for the Spokane area down to the Palouse and to the north, into the Idaho Panhandle, as well as the Cascades. You can see it gets a bit more tricky as you get down into the LC Valley, with some areas having elevated the significant risk, while the threat is more limited down into the lower parts of the LC Valley. And we will talk more about that here on the next, or in some future slides. Here's the peak wind gust forecast. And we're not looking at winds really anything real substantial, but given that we're looking at a dry, powdery snow for much of the event, it's not going to take a lot of wind to cause some drifting snow and some locally blowing snow with this weather system. This is the peak winds that we have forecast. So we have the 20 to 30 mile per hour range across the Palouse and the Camas Prairie, with gusts up to 45 miles per hour in the Blue Mountains. And this is enough to cause some drifting and blowing snow in those areas. All right, so the precip type uncertainty. For most of the area, we are looking at a snow event. This is one model prediction of the precip type for 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. And you can see it's mostly blue on the map. But there is a hint of potential freezing rain around the Pomeroy area tomorrow morning. Then as we get into tomorrow afternoon, you can see again it's mostly blue on the map, but that rain snow line does get close to the Pullman Moscow areas. And down in the LC Valley, there's higher confidence that precip type will be rain, with a wintry mix potential down around the Pomeroy area. So really it's this area that carries the highest uncertainty with the snowfall amounts. Right now we are favoring that precip will remain as snow in the Pullman and Moscow area, which is why we have that area in the 8 to 12 inch forecast range. All right, so the next set of maps I'm going to show you, there is no forecaster input to these maps. This is just raw computer model data based off several different model predictions, giving us an idea of forecast confidence of these snow amounts being achieved. So the percent chance of 2 inches or more from Tuesday evening through Thursday evening is 100% over much of eastern Washington and North Idaho, and even some high probabilities there across central Washington. Now, if I increase the amounts up to 4 inches, you can see still, near 100% chances over much of eastern Washington and North Idaho. Go up to 8 inches, and the models are predicting a 60% chance of getting at least 8 inches in the Spokane area, with 100% chances over much of North Idaho. But you can see there for Pullman, it's only forecasting a 21% chance. But again, we are forecasting a higher end scenario. We believe with the cold air in place now that they are going to hang on to snow and that they will see significant accumulations down in the Pullman and Moscow area. And even in the around Ritzville and parts of the basin, there's a very low probability of even 8 inches. But as you get into much of central Washington, the chances are near zero, and then they increase to very high probabilities again as you get into much of Chelan County. And then the next graphic is the chance for a foot of snow or more. And even that has a possibility in the Spokane area, 13%, but the odds increase quite a bit higher as you go into North Idaho, and again, very high chances there in the Cascades. All right, so that takes care of the snow, the snowstorm that we're looking at for overnight tonight into Wednesday night. Now we are going to get another round of winter precipitation Friday into Saturday. And right now we're looking at a mainly snow event across the Cascades and over northern Washington, as indicated by the model probabilities for various precipitation types. So you see there's a lot of blue on this map, indicating that the most likely precip type is snow. But then as you get down into the Columbia Basin and the Spokane area, there's a mixed bag of precipitation types expected, including snow, sleet, and freezing rain. As you go into southeast Washington, there's increased potential that these areas will warm up a little quicker. So we're looking at mostly rain, but there is a potential for some brief freezing rain as well. Typically with these Arctic air masses, the models can struggle with how quickly the lower levels warm up. So, again, this is subject to change. There could be more freezing rain than what this map shows, but this is the early indications of how that Friday-Saturday event will evolve. And this is the model forecast of at least 1/100th of an inch of ice, so a light glaze, for Friday through the weekend. And the highest chances are across the Columbia Basin and the Spokane area and even down into the Palouse area, with less chances up across the far north and east slopes where precipitation is more likely to remain as snow. All right, so what about the longer range outlooks? Well, there is high chances during the January 21st through 25th period of warmer than normal temperatures and wetter than normal conditions. So it does look like eventually we will mix out of this cold air, and we have a chance for a good chance for a melting period of the lower level snow as we go into that 6 to 10 day period, and we'll be keeping an eye on that. All right, so in summary, we're looking at active winter weather this week, cold temperatures slowly moderating each day. We're looking at snowy commutes for Wednesday through Thursday morning. Now, the snow will likely be tapering off in a lot of areas Thursday morning, but there's going to be a lot of snow on the ground from all the snow that falls until then. And then we look for the next round of snow entering the region Thursday afternoon and evening, and then that will transition to a wintry mix Friday into Saturday as conditions warm, but they're warming above the ground, so slick travel conditions are going to remain a hazard going into much of the weekend. All right, historical reference with these snow amounts. So how often does a foot of snow fall over a 2-day period? Well, they're relatively common across the Cascades, North Idaho, and Northeast Washington. Since 1990, locations like Bonners Ferry, Priest River, and Winthrop average roughly one event every other year. For Spokane, it is a less common occurrence. Since 1881, we have had 17 events over a 2-day period where we've had a foot or more of snow. The most recent was February 23rd and 24th of 2011, and the record was that December 17th, 18th, 2008 event with 23.6 inches. Again, we're not saying that Spokane will get a foot, but it's not completely out of the question for that to happen. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, so the last slide I want to talk about